Thank you for joining us for Law in the Library. I'm your host, Robert Reeders. The Alachua County Library District and Three Rivers Legal Services have partnered for over 10 years on the Law in the Library series. Three Rivers Legal Services is an LLC that has provided free civil legal services since 1978. They have offices in Gainesville, Fernandina Beach, Jacksonville, and Lake City, and provide assistance on domestic violence and family law, housing and landlord-tenant issues, foreclosure defense, money and debt, veterans issues, record sealing and expungement, elder law, hurricane disaster assistance, and public benefits. Their telephone number is 352-372-0519, and their website is www.trls.org. Today's presentation is on disaster recovery, presented by Rachel Rall, the project manager for the disaster program at Three Rivers Legal Services, Incorporated. She also works with the probate team, assisting clients to obtain property title and remain in their family homes through probate and estate planning. Prior to her employment with Three Rivers, Rachel ran a small law firm for over 9 years, concentrating on family law, probate, and estate planning. Although she has been a licensed attorney for over 21 years, she has been in the legal field all of her adult life. Rachel earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration from Jacksonville University and received her law degree from Florida Coastal School of Law. Along with belonging to the Florida Bar, Rachel is active with the Jacksonville Bar Association, the Jacksonville Women Lawyers Association, the Catholic Lawyers Guild in the Diocese of St. Augustine, and the Council of Catholic Women of the Diocese of St. Augustine. Rachel and her husband each have one son and together have 5 grandchildren. In their spare time, they love to cruise the Caribbean, especially to Mexico to visit the Mayan ruins. Rachel's hobbies include gardening, knitting, crocheting, reading, and her golden retriever puppy. Thank you for joining us and sharing this information on this very important topic. And now I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Robert, for giving me the opportunity to provide some information on disaster recovery. This is a timely subject since we've just been hit by our 3rd hurricane in 13 months. Disaster recovery can be overwhelming, especially for a survivor that's in the middle of a disaster. It's hard to know where to turn, who to trust, or how to get help that you need. Typically, we relate disasters to weather events, such as tornadoes, floods, storms, hurricanes, and the earthquakes. But these disasters can also be environmental, such as industrial accidents, train derailments, or plane crashes. Mass casualties, such as riots and shootings, are also considered disasters. During disaster and during recovery, you may hear a lot of acronyms. It can be mind-boggling to know who it is, where to turn to, or even what these mean. So we have FEMA, DRCs, VOADs, COADs, LTRGs. They can be numbing to understand who you're supposed to turn to. So let's start with the easiest one is FEMA. FEMA is the Federal Emergency Management Agency. This is the lead federal agency that responds to disasters and national crises. FEMA provides funds and resources to help individuals recover from those disasters, but they also help with training and education for communities to prepare for disasters. So next we have what we call DRCs and MARCs, or MARC. DRCs are disaster recovery centers. Once a disaster is declared, these DRCs are open. They're centers that are set up for victims or survivors to visit and get help. Applications for FEMA can be made with those at the DRCs, as well as they'll be staffed by other agencies to assist in the recovery process. These agencies may be local churches, faith-based organizations. FEMA will be there. You'll have other other type of organizations that can help rebuild. An MARC or a MARC is very similar to a DRC. As the name implies, it's a multi-agency recovery center. You may have United Way, Red Cross, food banks may be there, along with the sheriff's office. The rescue will be there. And again, legal aid will be there also to help with answer some legal questions possibly. These centers are located within the communities that are disasters. Often every single county will have different locations within the county to serve the county residents themselves. There's also what we call COADs and VOADs. COAD is a community organization active in disaster. Just as the VOADs are voluntary organizations, they're interchangeable depending on what the group calls themselves. These are groups of community partners that come together, such as the Sheriff's Office, Fire Rescue, Red Cross, faith-based, food organizations. They are not only active during disasters, they plan throughout the year. They'll meet monthly or bi-weekly or whatever their needs are to prepare for the disaster. I belong to a couple of the COADs in and around Jacksonville. It's great to know who those partners are so that when the call comes in that there's a disaster and a disaster is declared, we know who to turn to when we have people that are in need. If it's the Red Cross that needs to place their recovery van, somebody else, we may call the sheriff's office and say, hey, do you have room in your parking lot? Faith-based organizations may have lots that they can have the Red Cross come in or set up tents for the food bank and food distributions. So you'll hear both COAD and VOAD. Again, they're the same thing. They will have the same organizations. It's just what the areas want to call their community organizations. So what happens? How do we get to this help? How do we get to assistance? First of all, the disaster has to be declared. What happens is the governor of a state will write up a declaration. They may have help from United Way or the ABA, the American Bar Association has delegates around this state that will help write up that declaration. That declaration is then sent to the President of the United States. The president determines and signs off on that declaration because then that triggers that federal agency, the FEMA, to be able to come in and start helping. So as you may have seen recently with Hurricane Helene just a week ago, the disaster was declared for almost all the counties on the coast of the Gulf of Mexico. After that, a couple of days later, additional counties inland, such as Alachua and Gilchrist, Hamilton, were all added to that disaster. Your county may not be declared right away if it's not clear and obvious, such as when we had drones and news reports showing as the disaster happened. Your emergency management personnel will survey the county, and then they will let the governor know if that new county needs to be added to the declaration, and that will happen. So once that disaster is declared, then there's assistance available. And there's many different types of assistance, even from FEMA. So the first thing that we have is housing assistance. FEMA can give you rental insurance, rental assistance, lodging expenses, home repair, assistance with accessibility to real property. I'll just go through those quickly to let you kind of know they may all sound the same, but they are a little different. Your rental assistance is for you're eligible if your home is not safe, sanitary, or livable. If you have no insurance, such as renter's insurance, or you've used up your renter's insurance, FEMA will supply up to 18 months of funds to help you find long-term solutions. You can use these funds to pay for rent, security deposits, essential utilities like gas and water, but you can't use it for cable and internet. That's not a necessity. You can receive your rental assistance electronically or by a paper check. Now, the issue with paper check is it's going to come into the mail. You have to be able to get to the post office to pick up that check. So when you're filling out your application, you may want to say, I want it electronically, so you have those funds available a lot faster. Lodging expense reimbursement is just that. It's reimbursement. It's to reimburse you for out-of-pocket lodging expenses that are not covered by insurance benefits, such as additional living expenses or loss of use. To be considered for lodging expense reimbursement, or they call it LER, your pre-disaster primary residence must be unlivable, inaccessible, or affected by an extended disaster-caused utility outage, like your water and your power's out for quite some time. You may be considered for the LER from FEMA if you've not received lodging assistance from other organizations, such as voluntary organizations. You may get some money from, you may have church funds. Your local church may be assisting you, or Red Cross or United Way. FEMA comes in after those dollars are spent to help you, because FEMA will not duplicate benefits, such as your insurance. If you have a renter's policy that gives you that living expenses, if you've used up those, you can apply for or tell FEMA that you need additional money. So home repairs or replacement. FEMA will provide money to repair your home, your primary home that you own and you live, if it was damaged by the disaster and not covered by insurance or other means. Again, you haven't gotten assistance from some of the local community partners to repair your home. The amount of assistance provided is based on the damage verified by a FEMA during an inspection. The home repair assistance is limited. It is intended to make the home livable. It does not fully restore the home to its pre-disaster condition. So you may have lost your roof and there may be some damage inside, but they'll finish the roof for you or fix the roof. Depending on what the damage is inside, will determine as whether FEMA will cover that. For instance, if you didn't have a lot of water intrusion, they may not fix that kind of stuff, but they're going to fix the roof. Okay. Assistance for accessibility to real property needs. This is to help if you have a disability in your home, such as you need grab bars, ramps, paved paths. You may not have had these before the disaster, but if your home was damaged during the disaster and FEMA comes in and looks at it and sees that you have a disability, you can request that extra, like the ramp. You may have not had a ramp, but you need one. FEMA, under new rules since March of this year, FEMA can help you put a ramp in that house so your home is accessible. They may cover privately owned roads, bridges, and docks. If that's the only way you have to get to your home and your home was damaged, they may put that bridge in there or replace that bridge. FEMA can lease existing residential properties for eligible applicants and modify or improve that home with reasonable accommodations. So if you have a disability and your home was damaged where you can't live in it, FEMA may lease a place for you that does have those accommodations, or apply or help get accommodations for you into those homes. So there's other types of assistance that aren't necessarily related to the structure themselves. Serious needs is money to help you for immediate needs, such as food, water, first aid, prescriptions, baby formula and breastfeeding supplies, diapers, personal hygiene, fuel for transportation. These are what's called the serious needs, things that are your basic needs. Displacement assistance is to help for immediate housing needs if you can't return to your home because of the disaster. These funds can be used to stay in a hotel, to stay with family and friends. You may relocate with family, but relocating to an additional home causes additional costs like food or electricity or water, things like this. That's what the displacement funds are for. Or if you're looking for a place and you have to stay somewhere else, these displacement funds can help you until you find that new rental unit. Personal property assistance is to repair or replace things like your refrigerator or your stove, home furnishings like a bed or a sofa or a chair, essential things that you need to live in your home. It can also be used for work or school items like uniforms, tools, if you have computers that you need for work, even if you're self-employed, these personal property assistance will help with that. And of course, transportation. You may need assistance with moving and getting around for medical assistance. You've got all these other things, medical and dental, funeral, childcare, miscellaneous things that you need, like cleaning. Generators, dehumidifiers, and chainsaws are part of the miscellaneous. If you need to get a chainsaw to get the trees off your roof or out of your property, you can ask to be reimbursed for those. If you bought a generator or a dehumidifier, you can ask FEMA to reimburse you for those expenses. Transportation assistance is to repair or replace a vehicle that was damaged during the disaster, so long as you don't have access to another vehicle. So if the family only has one vehicle and it's been damaged, you can apply to FEMA for replacement or repair of that. So when do I apply for FEMA assistance? You have 60 days from the date of that declaration to make application to FEMA. You need to make sure that you're specific in your application, that you give information that is correct and accurate, and to provide all documentation. If you're asking for reimbursement, make sure you have the receipts for those. I have looked at some FEMA applications recently where the forms are small. The forms have various blocks that you're trying to check off, but you've got to make sure you're asking for what you have. For instance, if you're asking for rental assistance, don't mark that you own the house, because they're not going to give you rental assistance because you own a home. Then they're going to come out and look at that home that you said you own. And if only part of it is damaged, first of all, they're not going to repair it. And second of all, say you're renting a room and it's the room that you were renting that was damaged, but the rest of the house, FEMA's going to say the rest of the house is fine. You don't need rental assistance. So make sure you read over that application before you sign it. It is hard right after the disaster and within these 60 days, but get estimates for the repairs. Make sure you have your insurance policies. Make application to your insurance, make a claim to your insurance company so that you can show FEMA that you have made that claim. They're going to ask you if you made a claim so they know and they can start working. Once your application is in, you're under those 60 days. So if you need to make changes or anything like that, you're fine as long as you've made that first application within the 60 days. There are certain circumstances where those 60 days will be extended. For instance, if you can tell FEMA that your home was damaged to such a condition that you had to get out, that you left your cell phone was destroyed in the disaster, then you can ask for extension of time to file your FEMA complaint or your FEMA application. And they'll most likely grant you that extension. So what if FEMA denies my application? Well, then you're going to have 60 days from that denial letter to apply, to make an appeal. An appeal is very, very simple. It's just telling FEMA what they did wrong, why you should have been denied. After you've made your application, and I'm going to back up just a little bit here. Once you make your application, in a couple of days, you're going to get a letter from FEMA. It says, hey, we got your application. Here's all these things you may be available to you. You'll be hearing from us again shortly. Then you'll get another letter that's either an award that says you're getting this assistance, or it's going to be a denial. Again, if it's a denial, make sure you read it carefully. It may not be an actual denial. It's we need more information. So there's no in between. There's either an award or a denial, but the denial may say, but we need another estimate. We need pictures. We need your insurance application or debt claim. Make sure you give all that information to them. Don't miss the deadlines. Make sure, even if you get an award and you don't like what they said, you don't think it's enough, appeal. I've had people appeal several times because they get a little bit and it's not enough. Then they get a little bit more and still not enough. They get a little bit more. So keep on top of that. During disasters, we have people that come in who want to make money. They know that disaster survivors are scrambling, they're panicking, especially now, they're shell-shocked, and people just want to get things done. Be careful of somebody coming to your door and knock and say, hey, I can remove your trees. I can help you with that roof. These are a lot of times unlicensed contractors, roofers, repair persons. They may not have insurance. They may be they're just somebody who's got a truck and a chainsaw and they're coming in. If they damage your property more, you have no way of going back towards them and having them help fix what they broke. So be very, very careful. Finally, of course, recovery begins before the disaster. You need to inventory your belongings, take pictures or videos. Cell phones are great these days. You can go through your house and videotape everything. If you have a disaster, like some of the things we've seen where your house has been washed away, you've got pictures of what you owned. So when you make your claim for your insurance or you apply to FEMA for disaster recovery, you can show them what you owned. Safeguard your important papers, your insurance documents, your receipts, anything that you need. You may have titles to your vehicles. Keep those in a baggie. Take those with you. Tune in to weather reports. Prepare your home itself. Clean up the debris, trim the trees, secure your outdoor furniture. Stock up on food, water, medications. Get cash. One thing we've seen in this disaster, especially in the Carolinas, where there's no power, where things are gone, the ATMs don't work when there's no power. Get cash and fill up your car. So if you do have to get out, you've got gas. Pay attention to evacuation orders and evacuate if you're told to go. There's stories where people said, this is my home, I'm staying here, and the outcomes were not good. You can always come back, but make sure you don't return until you're told it's safe. Here's a couple of resources that you can do more research. I only have a short time. This could take, I could talk for hours on recovery and what you need to do. But FEMA, you can go to their website, the Red Cross, HUD.gov, that's the Housing and Urban Development. They've got great information. FloridaDisaster.org. Look at all these before a disaster, so you kind of know what's going on. If you need legal assistance, if you need to appeal your FEMA, if you have renters issues, insurance issues, title issues, give us a call. We will try to help you. At the very least, we can give you some advice. At the very most, you can be assigned an attorney that works in what you need help with, and we'll see what we can do for you. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to present this information to you.
Thank you for that great information, and we hope that will help people with recovering from this tough time, getting the assistance they need to put themselves back on track. We want to thank you for attending today's presentation. Our next Law in the Library episode will premiere on Wednesday, November 13th at 5:30. The topic will be roofing scams and issues. Previous episodes of Law in the Library are available anytime on the library's website at www.aclib.us/law-library. Thank you for attending. We'll see you next time.